Visual Studio Code, one of the best free text editors out there. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install it and how to start using it. If you're new here, I'm Fabio and this channel is all about programming and web development. If that is something you're interested in, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon down below so you get notified every time I post new videos. Let's jump into it.
Okay, here we are inside Visual Studio Code's website. I'm running on a Windows machine, so I'm downloading the Windows version, but you can download the version you want. I'm gonna click on the button and save the file. Okay, the download's completed. Just gonna open the file. Here we have the setup. So I'm gonna go ahead and click next. It's really important, you can create a desktop icon. I'm not gonna do that. These are two really interesting features, so I highly recommend that you tick both of them. Basically, when you are inside a folder, you can right click and click open with code, and then the whole folder will be open inside Visual Studio Code. The same for the file. You can right click on a file and open the file inside Visual Studio Code. Add to path is already ticked, but you have to leave it like that. I'm gonna go ahead and click next and then install it. Okay, we're nearly there. I'm gonna open Visual Studio Code now. Here we are inside Visual Studio Code. This is the welcome page, and now I'm gonna untick this box so the welcome page is not shown every time you open up a new file, and I'm gonna close it. So here you've got different tabs. This is the Explorer, where you can see all the open files. We don't have any, so there's nothing there. Then all the folders opened, in this case nothing in there. You can open a folder from here. You can clone a repository from GitHub if you know how to use it. Here you can search for things inside your files. Here you've got support from the source control. Could be Git, could be anything. Something to run your code and debug it. And then the extensions. Extensions allow you to actually implement things that are not by default on Visual Studio Code. In this case, support for Python, C, C++, and then other things like server and stuff like that. I'm gonna make a video just on this because there are so many and there are loads of really interesting ones. Let's talk about settings now. If you go down here on Manage, you can open the settings. There are loads of settings, so I'm not gonna go through all of them. You can search by entering a word here, for example, auto save. You can see all the things related to the auto save. You can see also the things related to the font, for example, and stuff like that. So you can go through them and see the ones you actually need. One important thing that I highly recommend you turn on is the autosave, because you never know what happens while you're coding, so you always have to make sure that the code you are writing gets saved. So you turn on this feature. In this case, I always use after delay, okay? And then here you set every how many milliseconds you want it to save. Let's say 1000, let's say 10,000, stuff like that. Here you've got the editor font size. You can have the font size bigger or smaller, font family, tab size. Another thing that I actually use when I'm working with a big screen is the window zoom. So you can just enter here, zoom, and zoom level. I always use 1, so everything is bigger. Maybe you can see it better as well. These are all settings you can change. You can have a look at all of them and then turn on the one you actually want. Okay, So here you've got workbench, the window, all the things related to the window and stuff like that. Here you can actually change the settings of all the extensions. These are the default ones. So if you add an extension from here, you will see all the settings in this place here. One thing that I didn't mention is that this is for the user. So basically it changes the settings of all the workspaces. Okay. But if you've got a workspace open, you will be able to see another tab here where you can change the settings for just that workspace. You can also change the color theme from here. Color theme. You can change it to light. You can change it to dark, which is the one I had. You can change it to red and stuff like that. I usually leave it default because it's what I like. From here, you can see the command palette. And here you can look for things you can do. For example, I looked for open settings and open default settings. So basically, there are default settings and they are all stored in a JSON file. Okay, so these are all default settings. Every time you change something and you customize it, they will be written in setting JSON. All the things inside of here will override the things inside of here. Let's open up this. So here we've got all the different settings. Then I'm gonna open the other one. If you don't want to go to manage and then command palette, you can use the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+P. So I'm gonna use that. Okay, and I'm gonna open up the settings, which is the file that contains my new settings, my customized settings. In this case, you can see that this wasn't the default, it was off, now it's after delay, the time, the zoom level. So here you can customize them. You can actually customize them from this page, okay? You can do that from here, or you can do that from here, whatever you like the most. Another feature of Visual Studio Code is the terminal, integrated terminal. So you don't have to have another window open, okay? So you can go to terminal and then click on here and a new terminal will open up, okay? This is my terminal. You can change the default one from here. So I've got git bash because I've got git installed in this computer, okay? There's the Windows PowerShell and the command prompt. So you can choose either of them. As you can see, next to every command, you've got a shortcut. You can find all of them in here, keyboard shortcuts. It's really useful to know, the most used ones because it's gonna save you a ton of time. Okay, so how to copy it, that's the same as usual, cut. Then how to open a file, how to open a folder, how to search for terms and stuff like that. So I highly recommend you to have a look to all of them because they always come in handy. Okay, so you've got all the keyboard shortcuts. If you're used to other text editors, in the extensions you can find extensions that actually allow you to use the same shortcuts as in the other text editor. Maybe you've been working for years with one text editor and then you want to shift to this one, but you want to keep your shortcuts in place. In this case, you can do that. If you remember, we ticked 2 boxes when we installed Visual Studio Code. I'm going to show you what those 2 boxes actually do. I've got a folder, project folder. There are 3 files in here. I'm gonna right click on that folder and then open with code. This will open a new window and then a project folder. I'm gonna close up this one. Here we go. So here we've got a project folder with all the code. We can open the files by clicking once. If you click just once, you can see that the text here is a little bit like italic style. Okay, that means that if I open another file, that file will be closed and the new file will be opened in place of the other one. If I want it to stay there, I have to double click. You can see that it's not italic anymore. So if I open another file, this file stays here. Okay. So Visual Studio Code comes with Emmet. If you don't know what Emmet is, I'll leave the link in the description box down below so you can have a look. So basically, if you start writing something like, let's say doc, you can see that there's an Emmet abbreviation. If you hit tab, a basic structure will come out. There are loads of these things in Emmet. For example, if you want to, let's say you want a div, you just start writing div, hit tab, and then you've got the two tags in place. Or maybe you can do things like order list, there's children, and then I want 5 list tags. Hit tab, and that's it. The auto-completion feature is also available for all the languages, like for example JS, JavaScript. You can start typing and then you can see all the options here. You can click on them or hit tab on them or scroll through them with the arrows, okay, in your keyboard. This is actually JavaScript. Now you can see that all the pairs of parentheses or curly braces have this little rectangle around. This means that this is part of this, okay? This is part of this, and this is part of this. So this is useful, especially when you have loads of code and you don't know which one is the matching one. Okay, for example, this one, maybe you've got other, I don't know, 10 curly braces around. So it's like, oh, which one is which? So you need to look for the little rectangle around. Okay, so this is really an important feature, right? So it's the same for the CSS. Okay, let's talk about snippets now. Snippets are sort of pre-made blocks of code that are always the same, such as, I don't know, for loops, while loops, if-else blocks, and things like that. I'm going to show you a few that are already pre-built inside Visual Studio Code by default, but you can make your own ones, or you can also add extensions that actually add them for you. So if you open up the JavaScript file, you can start typing, like for example, if, and as you can see, all the options with the square next to them are snippets. So here you've got if else, if. There are two pre-made snippets. So you can highlight the snippet you want with the arrows in your keyboard and then hit tab. And as you can see, the basic structure of the if else statement is actually already there for you. So you can start writing your own condition, let's say that. Okay. The same for the for loop, for example. As you can see, you've got the basic structure, the while loop, same. So basically, for all the things that are always the same, you've got a snippet, okay? You can make your own one, but at the same time, you can add, as I said, extensions that made them for you. So there are extensions that add snippets for JavaScript, there are extensions that add snippets for PHP and stuff like that, okay? So they're really amazing because they're gonna save you a lot of time, and also they're gonna make your life as a programmer so much easier. I haven't talked about go to definition and pick definition, two things that come in handy when you're working with a lot of code. So let's say you've got a variable called my name, and it's equal to Fabio. And then I want to use it down below. Let's pretend that you've got a lot of code down here. So let's say These are all lines of code, okay? And then you want to use it down here. Okay, so if you want to see where the variable was declared, you just have to hover over it and then right click, go to definition, and then you will be taken to the variable definition, which is here. You can do the same with F12. All right. And also my favorite one, you can press Control, hold it down, hover over the variable name, click on it, and then you're going to be taken to the variable definition. Another feature, which is pick definition, it works in a similar way, but you won't be taken to where the variable was declared. Instead, a new window will be opened and you will be able to see where the variable was declared and edited from that window. So let's have a look to that. I'm going to right click, pick definition, and then as you can see, I've got this new window with my definition. I can change things up. Let's say I want to change it to John. Okay, so then I can close this and I can see all the changes you've made inside the window are reflected in your code, because actually you are editing things inside the window, but it's exactly the same as doing it from here, like changing that from here. Okay, of course this works also for the functions, classes and stuff like that, so that was really worth mentioning because you're gonna use it a lot. Okay, so let's close this up. Of course these are just the basics, because I would have to stay here like for one day, maybe it wouldn't be enough anyway. So this is just the basic to get started with Visual Studio Code, and then in the future I will make other videos about more advanced features.
And there you have it guys, a little introduction on Visual Studio Code. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon down below. Thanks again for watching and I'll see you soon. Bye.